6% down from 2022. We have way more issues from the last 2018 election cycle. We're 6% down. We have way more issues than we had before, but we're voting less. We have to start picking it up, and we have to start getting engaged with other people as it relates to voting. One of the things that the NAACP is doing, and what we will do, is make sure that you are informed. We have our forums that we have with each and every one of the candidates. If you have not seen our forums, I'm gonna say shame on you. Because we put it out there on social media for you to see it. We give you a chance to see these candidates before they are elected. You get to hear their opinions and what they're gonna say and what they're gonna do once they get in office. And then once they give us that answer, we challenge them to make sure that they continue to do what they say they're gonna do. So right now, looking around this room, I know they said the council wasn't here. The council was here. We haven't had that before, where people come and listen to what our concerns are. So that's why we challenge you to make sure that you're voting so that they know that you care. And this room right here is full of advocates because you're here. So make sure the person next to you comes with you. Don't just go and say, hey, I've done my job. We all have a challenge to do. We all need to get out there and make sure everyone is voting, making sure that everyone understands that voting is power. And with that power, you need to utilize it. So I just want to say, make sure you know who your council members are. Make sure, how many people here know who their U.S. senators are? There ain't but two of them. Can anybody name? All right, because I can ask this question out in the street to 10 people and only 3 can give the answer. And that's scary. We're asking for the challenges of our school board to do these things as it relates to things for the school. Because let's look at what the school board has in their jurisdiction. They have the financial budget, they got policy and equity, they got health and safety. So if you don't know who your school board members are, what are you doing? Why are you complaining? Why are you arguing unless you know who it is that you're voting for? And it's our challenge to try and make sure we get that information to you. But your challenge is to make sure you get that information. The city council, who knows all the city council members? You need to know who those city council members are. I hope y'all do. I hope y'all do. But, I mean, I'm going to give you their phone number since they want to raise their hand. If you're attorney, 513-352-5205. Parks, 5210. Herndon, 3640. Harris, 5243. Jeffries, 3464. Keaton, 5280. Owens, 3466. Walsh, 5232. Remember them? Give them a call. If you have a concern, give them a call. Because we're talking about tax abatement. Guess who's involved in the tax abatement decision? Guess who's imposing taxes? Guess who's setting ordinances? Guess who's making appropriations? Establishing the policies that you have to live by? City council. They're also hiring the people, like the city manager. They're involved in that hiring process that's going to control who the personnel are. So we need to make sure that we understand these things before we go out of here today. We have challenged you to help us when there's legislation on the table that is not going to be beneficial to you. We've had legislation, House Bill 458. That was the voter's right bill. That passed. It's an ugly bill. And I want to just, lastly, Cedric, because I'm going to get off. I said I was going to be short. Lastly, but I just want to make sure you know that your utility bill will not allow you to vote at your precinct anymore. You're going to have to come there with some identification. The government is going to allow you, because of this new policy, to get a free state ID if you don't have it. That's going to happen in April. But you need your driver's license. You need your passport. You need a state-issued ID card. You need an address that reflects where you live. These are things that are necessary now that wasn't necessary before. Let me give you these last things that you can't come in there with, because you've been coming in there with it before. Government check, a paycheck, other government documents, insurance card, utility bill, social security card. You can put that back in the closet because you can't use it anymore. And this is important stuff. So we want to challenge Cedric, who is a representative, or any other representative to get us the information before it hits the floor. So we can inform you, so we can all go up there and argue that this shouldn't be voted on, that this shouldn't be passed. Because we don't need to argue after they already passed. Because that's what happens. And that's why I'm really thrilled about this meeting today, because the tax abatement process has not passed, and they're listening. I don't know if they're going to make the change, but they're listening. So thank you.
All right, thank you, NAACP. Thank you, Mr. Whitehead. We're going to keep it moving. Former Mayor Dwight Tillery is here with us. He's been around for a long time. We can't get rid of him. He loves us that much, and he's going to come fire us up with a call to action. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Dwight Tillery.
He's been around for a long time. I really enjoyed what Mr. Whitehead said and his enthusiasm. I used to be on city council, and I used to complain about why black folks aren't voting. Why aren't they voting? I think there's a correlation between those who vote and what they get. And too often black people have voted, but they don't get anything. Because we don't hold the city council and other legislative officers accountable. It is not enough to be a black person sitting on city council and not do a damn thing for the very black people who put you in there. Why you do that to me, man? Big sound. But even to everyone. And I really want to thank Michelle and State Rep Sid Denson for putting this together, and all of you who have come out tonight. Let's give them a round of applause. And let's give you a round of applause. Now, some of you might think, as you listen to me this evening, that I don't like white people. But that's not true. But what is true is telling the truth. The lawsuit that was filed against the city's tax abatement program by Attorney Newman, and I think we should give him a big round of applause. Lawyers. I remember the NAACP when they had a black lawyer who brought suits against the city, against the police. Where are the black lawyers and what are their involvement in dealing with racism in this city? Well, let me say a little bit about this lawsuit, and in my opinion, and I've been a lawyer for 49 years. I know it's hard to believe. But this lawsuit clearly demonstrates that the city is giving subsidies to predominantly wealthy white neighborhoods, while giving very few dollars to black neighborhoods. It's also furthering segregation in our city and shortchanging our students. Let me say that I speak for myself tonight and saying that I can't figure out why the city or any other public entity feels comfortable, even excited about giving rich people a taxpayer's handout, while low income and poor people get virtually no financial relief. Some of you politicians might regret being here tonight, but that's okay. Is it because it's easier for politicians to give money to the rich than it is to give money to low income and poor people? Billionaires like Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, Warren Buffett, and Donald J. Trump pay little to no taxes at all. Now, I know there are some on the council and the mayor who says, but we need this tax abatement program because we need to attract workers who will pay earnings taxes and provide the workforce we need, while ignoring and even discriminating against those black families who have lived here for generations. Let me tell you something. A rising tide doesn't lift all boats, because black and poor whites have no boats to be lifted.
Council people, pay attention.
Let me share something with you. The Greater Cincinnati Foundation issued a report in 2019 entitled, All in Cincinnati. And I've encouraged some members on City Council, please read this. I'm not sure that they're still reading it. But the foreword of the report makes the following statements, and I quote, "The story of Cincinnati is a tale of two cities. The first, Cincinnati, exemplifies its reputation as the Queen City, a bright light in the dark night run towards freedom. And then there is the other Cincinnati, the city where many of its residents do not benefit from the riches that is here. The place where the voices of those who suffer compounded inequities are often not heard. One of the most segregated communities in the nation. A city where racism far too often prevails. Cincinnati is an economic powerhouse, and yet it struggles with uneven growth, high rates of poverty, and an economy dominated by low-wage jobs and few pathways into the middle class." End of quote. This report, as well as many others like the Urban League, reveals what many of us who are black already know, that we are at the bottom of this city in every possible way.
Tired of standing on our backs.
Black people are the most unemployed, even with college educations. Poor housing and the lack thereof, poor health, childhood poverty, low wages, limited opportunities for advancement, neighborhoods created and maintained by commercial banks redlining, and we have the highest number in our community members incarcerated, including our juveniles, and our children are not getting the education they so desperately need and deserve.
Being squeezed out.
The report also says, and I want you to listen carefully, and I quote, "We must strengthen the public school system by ensuring sufficient and equitable funding for schools attended by lower income students. How can the city justify the giving away of tax dollars to people who don't even need it, while at the same time weakening the financial support of the children who are most in need? It's not a coincidence that tax abatements has come about in the last 15 years, because our school system is majority black students. I was born in the West End, and I remember when we had to leave because of a federal program called Urban Renewal. It was a program that a city may or may not participate. Well, it seems like overnight, 26,000 black people were raised during the 50s. We lost our businesses, our homes, our churches, our recreation and entertainment institutions, and our black wealth. All because Cincinnati did not want black people living so close to what was called the Central City. The city claimed that our community was dominated by poor housing and slums and needed to be cleared. Why did they use the federal dollars to fix up our community? No tax abatements for us, to fix up our neighborhoods, even if, in fact, there were slums. No, for me, it was a matter of ethnic cleansing. As we moved out of the West End and into the neighborhoods we now live, white flight took place, taking all the businesses and the resources to the suburbs. And for over 60 years, the city never did anything to rebuild our communities as promised, because it had no intention in doing so in the first place. Now we have FC Stadium, along with other developments, continuing the development and the redevelopment of the area primarily for whites.
Money being taken away.
Let me ask you a question tonight. Do you see any similarities taking place in our city with 3CDC, Port Authority, buildings and inspection fines, DC and tax abatements? Any connections? Our city government gave away its most important powers, especially economic development, to private entities.
Right.
Our city government had a majority change, had a charter change after 2 decades, giving the power of city government primarily to the mayor. Do you believe for one moment that tax abatements were created to help black and poor people? Do you believe that? Do you know anything about the role of commercial banks and their lending practices and the real estate industry in this city? Why did the All in Cincinnati report state that our city is one of the most segregated cities in the nation? How do you get segregation? By racism. And now here comes Mr. Mayor with a solution to the problem. Or is he simply making things worse? I encourage everyone to read the 2019 report and look at the statistics and tell me with a straight face that the mayor's tax abatement program will benefit anybody other than well-to-do whites in our city. Because they have the money and they can borrow the money. For the first time in the history of the city, the black population is on the decline, while whites are on the incline. This has majority consequences for black people, including a possible loss in political power. Our mayor has decided at the beginning of his second year in office that we need to sell the railroad for infrastructure purposes, while the city has given away $332 million and counting for tax abatements. If the city needs money, then damn it, stop giving it away. Stop playing with us. We've suffered too long.
Still.
Has the mayor not heard about the federal program Build Back Better, which is sending trillions of dollars from the federal government to cities throughout this country for infrastructure purposes? Kind of game is going on here. Brothers and sisters, this is the beginning of a new urban renewal. And we're being wiped out once again with our own tax dollars.
Right.
We have come full circle, where the whites and their generations who left us with nothing and fled to the suburbs are coming back for a tax abatement handout that most of us can't even qualify for. Once again, we are being kicked out with the support of our own government. We live in a city. Let me break it down. We live in a city that is dominated and controlled by the white power structure. The white leadership of this city talks about equity and inclusion, while at the same time, they do absolutely nothing about institutional racism. They are the masters of smoke and mirrors. The master of it. So tonight, I stand for those who are losing their homes and being evicted from their apartments. I stand tonight against the unjust fines for residential property owners. I stand tonight against the commercial banks and other lending institutions that discriminate against us. I stand tonight for racial justice. I stand tonight with the parents and the thousands of kids that attend